This podcast is intended for mature audiences and could be triggering to some. Please use discretion when listening. Hey everyone, welcome to HeartsWithJules, back with another episode, a podcast where survivors can share their story. I'd like to introduce you to our guest today. Her name is Vijor. Vijor is a survivor of narcissistic abuse. Thank you so much for meeting with me today. How are you? And could you tell us more about yourself and your situation?
Hi, I'm doing amazing. Thank you so much, Jules, for having me. I really appreciate being part of your podcast today. My story it's not as complicated, but it is. I want to go by like whatever you would want to know first, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, sure. So how did you meet this person and how long was the relationship and when did you start noticing the abuse?
Oh, okay. So I initially met this person through a family member. It was a religious ordeal, what I would say, I would say arranged marriage to a certain degree, because I didn't know this man. And we were 16 years apart. That's the first sign. I was 18, he was 34. Most narcissistic abusers love to be with women who are young girls that they can mold into whatever it is that they like,
Right.
and manipulate. So that was the first sign, but I didn't notice any signs. Okay. I was 18. I didn't know this person. We sat down about 3 times and then we got married. We were married. And when I say sit down, like on the phone, they're called sit down. So we sat down on the phone a couple of times. We spoke. He flew to where I lived at the time and we met and then we got married. Would never recommend that. We were married for 7 years.
Wow.
And I did not know that it was even a name for what I was experiencing until years after, until maybe last year. And we got married in 2007. So it's 2022 now. That'll tell you.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Exactly. I started to, realize those signs and everything else like that. I was like, whoa, that's what I was going through. I went through that. And all these, I was on TikTok. And of course, that's where you really start to learn, the university of TikTok. And I really started to learn a lot about the abuse that I had experienced.
Right.
And yes, it was both verbal, it was emotional, it turned physical towards the end.
Oh no.
Yeah, while I was pregnant, it turned physical. Yeah, my daughter, I'm surprised that she's here. My placenta had actually detached from my uterus. And the doctor was saying, if you so much as trip, you're going to be delivering a stillborn child. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it got really bad. As far as the verbal abuse, he would say like, no one's going to want you. Who's going to want you with 3 children? Anybody who marries you now, you're just going to be a charity case. Really trying to make me feel as if he was the only person in the world that, that I could have.
Yeah, and belittling you every day.
Oh yeah, there was affection got withheld. When he got upset, communication. He went almost a month without speaking to me. We had a 2-bedroom apartment. He literally packed up all his things from one room to the other. Clothes in the closet, toothbrush on the other side of the house. Did not speak to me at all. It wasn't until I was going to leave. Every time I was going to leave, it was the sorry, it was the begging, it was the crying, it was the tears.
Right.
And, I'm going to change and things are going to be different. But yeah, it took almost a month. And even me going in the room, apologizing and things like that, never. One time he got so upset, he took all the money out the house and he went to work. That night, our apartment, someone left the child home in the apartment complex somewhere, got caught on fire. And it was on the East Coast. And that night it was about negative 12 degrees or whatever outside, snow, everything. I had 2 children. I went downstairs. We all had to evacuate. He took the car, he took everything. So I'm outside in the snow, in the cold with 2 babies, with nowhere to go, no money to nothing. I had to call his ex-wife because his ex-wife and I are very close. She's like a sister to me. And I called her and I went to her house, and she only lived around the corner at the time until I could get back in the house. So there were many, many, many different signs.
Right. And was that like after you got married or like years later?
Absolutely. The very first night I should have left. The first night I got raped by, yes, my own husband.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry to hear that.
It's okay. I went into the room, and at this night, on the first night, one of the reasons why I didn't want to get married, it was 12 midnight. It wasn't even a nice wedding. I never got the wedding that I always wanted. I didn't get any of that. He just wanted to rush and hurry up and get married. I didn't even know what the rush was for.
Yeah.
So we go back to the hotel, and this night I'm on my cycle. And so I'm like, I don't want to do anything with you. You know, we have time. We're married now. It's not anything that needs to be rushed.
Exactly.
Well, after I came out the shower, he forced himself on me. I kept telling him, no, 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 no. He did it anyway. He left out the room. I stayed in the bathroom. I took a bath until I was wrinkled, just crying. I came out and there was a note on the bed that said, I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
That was it.
Wow, that's...
Things were gone. Yeah. And I was 18 at the time. I was too embarrassed. Many people say, well, why didn't you just, call your parents? Or even now when I tell my sisters the story, because they didn't even know till this day.
Right.
They were like, why didn't you just call us? Why didn't you just tell us? And I was just like, I was too embarrassed.
Right. Yeah.
To, tell everybody. I had just got married. What does that look like, asking for a divorce? Not even 6 hours later?
Exactly. Oh
I
my
was
God.
like, this is what couples go through. Maybe I just have to, fight through it. I don't know. So
Yeah, no, definitely not. Oh my God, you didn't deserve that. When did you start planning your way out and like how?
well, okay. So for me, I wanted to get serious with my belief and my connection to God, and I didn't want to commit any type of fornication or anything like that. So that's the reason why I got married so early on.
Right.
And, I just felt like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready for some booty now. I'm just being real. I don't want to go out there and be in the streets and stuff like that. So, okay, fine. So at this point, although I was ready, I wanted to be ready like on my own terms. I know that as, coming into a marriage, I have a certain amount of time before, I have to give myself to my husband. And especially in in that case, I was, menstruating. So, I didn't want to do anything,
Mhm.
but I didn't know then that, okay, this is considered rape by my husband. There were
Right.
many things that I was still learning. I wanted to get out the house. There's a lot of different factors behind it, but yeah, I definitely see things different now.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with me. And how has this experience impacted you, like especially now too, during this healing process?
Oh man. Okay. So it was a 7-year marriage. And I started noticing that I was in an abusive relationship, I guess once he put his hands on me. I just wanted to say that. So it took me a long time. All that verbal, emotional abuse. We had no laughter. I just want to also make mention on this. There was no connection. I
Right.
did not even have a moment of happiness with this individual. None. Even the things I thought was funny, he didn't think was funny at all. So
Mhm.
imagine being young and having that part of your life taken away from you at such a young age.
Mhm.
I didn't notice once again that I was in a narcissistic abusive relationship until years later. Until
Right.
in my I was an adult, definitely an adult. I didn't know even afterwards, which is why I probably attracted somebody who had some narcissistic tendencies. Now, they say everybody has them, but there's some that you run from, and there's some that sometimes people do not know that they have them. And when you bring it to their attention, what I found is that they realize, okay, I don't want to be like this.
Right.
There's people there that actually like, yo, I didn't recognize this until you said it. And this actually reminds me of maybe my father, and I don't want to be like him. What are the steps I need to take to make sure, to ensure that I do not hurt anybody else like this?
Exactly.
And
Yes.
and I don't think a lot of people, we don't shed too much light on the narcissists that are out there that don't want to be that. We just,
Hmm.
if you're a narcissist, that's what you are, and that's what you'll always be. And that's not necessarily the case.
Hmm.
But yeah. So what was your other question? Sorry.
Yeah. How has this experience impacted you?
Oh man, you know what? In such a it's crazy to say, but a beautiful way, because I was able, or I am able to help many other women through my experience. So it would seem like initially a blessing and a curse, but it is a blessing because some of the things that we go through and experience through life, they're not even for us. They're to help other people get through, things in life. But, God knew that we were just stronger to take it on.
Right.
So, with everything that has taken place in my life, I can just say that I'm appreciative for where I am. It's impacted me so much because I've been able to impact so many other women and help them see how beautiful they are. And for those who do not know me, I am a self-confidence results coach. So I do help women who have been domestically abused and, victims of narcissistic abuse, as well as young girls who've been human trafficked, understand their worth, their value, and let them know that they are loved and appreciated. And I help them step into their greatness.
Right.
And that is an amazing, such an amazing experience to be a part of.
Right.
So that is how it impacted me. Yeah.
Turn pain into power. So you mentioned before, like you had like a few, like 3 sit down conversations and then you got married and there was really not much connection, right? What made you like finally pack up and go?
What made me finally pack up and go was when he put his hands on me. My mother told me something before I left that house that day with that man.
Mm-hmm.
She was in her room and my mom is full of theatrics. So I go in her room and she's sitting in a chair and she spins around on the spinning chair and the room is dark. She has one candle on. She's really trying to make her point here. So,
Right.
one of the things she said was, don't become a statistic. And
Mm-hmm.
the last thing she said is, if he puts his hands on you once, then he'll do it again. I don't know why she gave me that advice. Those were the 2 things she said. And it stuck with me and I did not forget it. So the day he did it, I literally saw her spinning around in that very same chair and I heard her voice and I got my things that day and I left. But what kept me there was the fact that I did have children with this man. So being that my father had passed away and, I wanted to give my children a, mom, dad, what I saw growing up, the Cosbys, I wanted them to have that. I've never had that. And what I learned through that experience is that it really doesn't matter for any other woman that is out there with children. My children have never seen me so happy at this stage of my life. This is the happiest I've ever been. Right. And I'd rather them see me happy and find someone who knows how to love me so that they can understand what real love looks like than to be stuck with someone just because they're your biological parent.
Yes.
And depressed and you see me getting abused and you see me crying and you see me not living in my purpose, because he didn't even want me to go to school. He did not even want me to go to school. He didn't want me to work. Anything outside the house was an issue. Do everything from home in the house.
You were like a hostage.
Very, very much so.
Yeah.
So, taking my power back, this is my life. And when you get into a relationship, everybody is an individual. It's not for you to come into somebody's life and think you're going to take complete control. Okay, you can't hang with them anymore. You can't go those places. No, it's have respect for the relationship. You allow people to be who they are, and then you decide if you want to stay there, So
well, that was a very good decision for not only for yourself, but for your children too, because they definitely don't need to see that growing up, so you're protecting their mental health as well.
Exactly.
So what services, resources, or people helped you in your journey, your healing journey now?
That's such a broad question, but at the same time, I say my experience definitely was that resource. And me, you can tell somebody 1,000 times they're beautiful, and it doesn't mean nothing until they feel it. Just like you can tell somebody 1,000,000 times, leave that man, but they're not going to go until they feel it, until they get tired of the BS. I'm sorry, I don't know if I can curse on here, but until they get tired of the BS. You got to get tired of being tired. But I'll say my sister was a major resource, speaking to her. Because remember, at this point in time, when you're going through this, you don't really want too many people to know. And then they're isolating you. And then on top of that, they look so amazing in the community. And especially that point in time in my life, I was married to someone who was very well known within the community, the religious community, and everybody looked at him. All the ladies wanted to marry him. He was such, just praised everywhere he went. And that's what most narcissists love to do and be.
Right.
So, for me, it wasn't I'm telling you, well on into my adulthood, almost 30s, where I started to learn about all of these things. So most of my resources came from Ian Levin's, and just learning what a man is. There's Dr. Monroe. He's a Christian pastor, but he just makes so much freaking sense. You cannot be closed-minded when learning. I had a very open mind to learn everything after I got out of that relationship.
Yeah.
So, different life coaches and mentors. Lisa, I can't think of her name right now, but Lisa, she's a great motivational speaker, and it's going to really kick me in the butt when I come off of here. But yeah, many different people helped me along this journey. So I can't say that I did it on my own. There were different people and men that I met afterwards, people who knew him, who were guys who were like, yo, I would have married you on the delivery bed. Because one time he said, nobody's going to want you with 3 children. And I told that to someone who knew of him, and they were like, is he nuts? I would marry you on the delivery bed. Mm-hmm. Like, you are such an amazing woman. But at that time, I couldn't see it. Right. I couldn't see it at all, Jules. When I say I couldn't see it, I was blind.
Yeah. And I don't know what it is, though. Like, I feel you on that, because when you're stuck in that type of relationship, it's like you don't really see it until you step out of it.
Right.
Like, next thing you know, a year went by, 2 years went by, and you don't even know where your time even went anymore. But you're just putting up with it constantly.
Exactly.
Trying to save the marriage, trying to save the family, trying to, have this happy family.
And that's their whole objective, to not get you out there to know that there's better than them. You know how many times he used to compare me to Rihanna? He used to say, if you weren't with me, you probably wouldn't even never paid attention to me. If we weren't in the same religion, you probably would never even paid attention to me at all. You probably just would have gone on. I feel like God changed places with Rihanna with you and made you religious, because you have that, I guess, I don't know what it was, but he saw something. He saw it. And they'll tell you little things. You will think, oh, they're uplifting me. And no, it's because they know, okay, you're way out of my league. Mm-hmm. But this is a really fun game. The fact that I was able to, pull a girl like you.
Right. And then trap you and abuse you the whole entire time.
Exactly. So that's why most of them go after women who are in corporate, or women who just, whatever is a high standard to you. If you're a virgin in some certain, cultures, they really, oh, she's a virgin, she's top tier, and nobody's ever had her, I'm the only, you know what I mean? Whatever makes these people inferior. Yeah, it's something about attaining this, tearing it down, and making it worship you, basically. Right. So once you recognize the signs and you realize that this is not love, it was never love between him and I, ever. I never loved him. He said he loved me, but I don't feel like he did at all, because he told me the very first night of us getting married. And I was like, just because we're married, it doesn't mean that you automatically fall in love. I don't know you. I'm still getting to know you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So those are just words anyways, because if it was real love, you wouldn't be feeling the way you were feeling.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. For the other victims out there right now who may be listening to your episode, what do you think is important for them to know? Like, what advice would you give them?
I would tell them to definitely have a plan if you see the signs. If you're listening to this podcast, it's because 9 times out of 10, you've already gotten to a point of understanding, okay, this is the relationship that I'm in. Right. So, because I was not listening to these types of podcasts, I didn't even know they exist. Mm-hmm. They existed, So I would definitely say, these signs, if any one of the signs that I mentioned, or that you've heard Jules, if you follow her on TikTok, she's so amazing, and you realize that you're in this type of relationship, create a exit plan, an exit strategy, because there's different levels of narcissists. There are some that really go the distance and they become very harmful. And so what I would say is, because everybody can't just leave, you know what I mean, Jules? Everybody just doesn't have the access to certain resources to just up and go. They don't have the money saved up. They have children. They don't have a house. They're in places where they don't even have family no more, because this person has isolated them to literally never's land, And so, create a strategy. If you're listening to this podcast, you have access to multiple resources. Then you have access to Google, you have access to, women resources that can get you out of that situation, safe houses, whatever you can do, create an exit plan.
Right. 100%. Thank you so much for that.
Very welcome. That man does not love you. That woman doesn't love you, because it goes both ways.
Right.
Okay. Everything is in their best interest, and they're going to die most likely just feeling alone and looking at all the people that they made miserable. Do not become a victim to that. You are so amazing and you deserve so much more. And it's your life. It's your life. Take control of it. You can do whatever you want to do. If you want to pick your butt, pick your nose, go outside, hang with friends, whatever. Nobody can't put any stipulations on that. It's you.
Oh, you're amazing.
I mean, I feel like if God gave us the power of free will, who the hell is some random individual who pees like I pees, shits like I shit, sorry, and just, you get to just run my life like you're just King Coon Cut Tut, whatever. Are you crazy?
Mm-hmm.
King Tut was a whatever. I don't even know the relevance to that.
All right. So yeah, just to wrap it up, do you have any social media that you'd like to share with the listeners, or any links that your services that you provide?
Yes, you guys can follow me on TikTok. It is Royal V, spelled with 2 Y's. So that's ROYYAL_V. And that's on Instagram as well. Same name, same spelling.
All right. And I'll add that in the description as well. Other than that, I do appreciate you, meeting with me today. Thank you so much for sharing a part of your story. But before we do end this, do you have any questions for me?
How are you? How are your experience? And you know what? Here's a real question that I do have for you, because I know after you come out of that relationship, I never, once I seen the signs of it, I never thought about it again or anything. It just started popping up on my timeline. So the question I have for you is, being that you create this content, I know it is to make awareness, make you aware, or make other people aware. How does that affect you? Does it make you feel like kind of drained a little bit, or does it make you feel like you're still getting pulled?
Ever since I signed up for TikTok, up until now, I've received like hundreds of messages saying, "Oh, you helped me. Oh, it's because of you I got out." So that kind of motivates me to create more content, because I know it's actually working, and being able to help people makes me feel so good. However, I do still get triggered though sometimes. Like if I watch my own videos, sometimes I get triggered. Sometimes I'll be recording, and the next thing you know, I start breaking down, and then I have to kind of redirect myself again and kind of tell myself, like, everything's okay, breathe, and then I continue. It's definitely a trauma that I'm going to live for the rest of my life, but I have to work on that.
Whoa. I have to get you to change that verbiage, because everything literally that we say is what becomes our reality. And for anybody out there else, I really hope you don't edit this part, but I want to tell you that is not true at all. Because literally, like I just told you, I don't even think about him or anything that I've been through like that at all. But it's because, like, I know you're speaking about it, you speak to other people and things like that. So it's something that's going to keep coming up. But I do not believe at all that that's going to be your reality for the rest of your life. One time, and this is what I'll say, my father, like I said, he passed away. I brought it up to him that that's something that I struggle with, right? Like at least once a month, like it'll break me down. Not anymore, but it did. And one time we got into an argument, and he very well used that against me. He said something about my father. When we got divorced, he told my children, yeah, that's why your mom doesn't have a dad, knowing that it would get back. Just whatever he knew. That was the only thing he knew that could get to me. Now nothing gets to me. I'm fine. If I talk about it, it's because I'm over it.
Right.
Because it also taught me not to speak about things that still hurt me, because people can use them against me.
Right. So you don't get, like, whenever you get flashback, you don't get emotional?
There are things. Okay, so for instance, when he put his hands on me, he slammed my stomach to the floor. So he had my hands behind my back like a police officer, and his knee in my back. So I had nothing to brace that fall. So I was 7 months pregnant, and literally was all baby and all floor. And I remember in that moment looking up, seeing my daughter sitting at the table. She was eating. I had just made her lunch. And she was just looking at me. She wasn't crying. She didn't know what was going on. I think she was 3. She was just looking at me. And I remember in that instance, I stopped fighting. I said, I will never allow you to see me in this position ever again.
Right.
So when you say triggered, there are things, what he did, I ain't thinking about him. It was her. It was just the mere fact of my child seeing that. I'm sure she probably doesn't even remember that, but just me being in that same situation that my mom told me not to be in, and what would happen again. All those things, those are the exterior factors. Those things are triggering. Like I was watching a movie and that same scenario, literally she was pregnant. He did the same thing to her. And I realized, oh, I felt a way about it. But
Right.
that feeling, when I dived into it, because I do a lot of writing, a lot of self-reflecting, a lot of healing over my trauma, my past wounds, I've done all that shadow work that I needed to do. And I'm still doing it every day.
Right.
It's going to happen for the rest of our lives that you have to do that work.
Right.
But I realized in that moment, what's hurting you right now? Not that he did it, because that's just who he is. That has nothing to do with me. It was my daughter.
Right.
And me being in a situation that I thought I would never be in. Like
Right.
my child seeing me this way. So those are the things that were like triggering that I didn't know until I watched a movie or somebody makes a joke and things like that. But it's never him. It's always something else around it.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. The trauma that lives with you forever. That's what
No.
I'm like. I still get emotional. So if I get triggered and I get emotional, so I'm kind of considering that as something that I would live with.
Right. But the only reason why I say not anymore is because after I've done the work to realize that's what it was, it doesn't bother me anymore. So I can watch a movie and see that and be like, oh, that's really, really sad that that's happening to, if it's based on a true story or something that happened to her. I remember when I went through that and be able to move on. That's why I feel like everything that happens in our lives are the things that we allow.
That's true. 100%. Let me ask you something.
Mm-hmm.
Did you go through like the same cycles? Because I went through this. Like I got to a stage where I wasn't emotional I didn't get emotional for the most part, but then I would get angry. And then after I would get angry, there was one time I was stuck on like, I can't believe I wasted that many years. And it wasn't even on the abuse anymore. It's more like, I want my time back.
Right.
Did that happen to you?
Hell yeah.
Okay.
It's like 7 years. Like, how dare I? I'm such an amazing person. And I don't care how anybody takes that. It took me a long time to feel that way about myself. That, when I realized that I had so much to share with other people and I could have been with somebody who actually loves me,
Right.
like someone actually adores me, someone who, when I cry, they cry. Like they're hurt at my hurt and they genuinely would do anything for me. I wasted some time with a fake person who thought they were God. What? Damn.
And you were young too, so you literally like that whole time of your whole life in that section when you were 18 to your 30s is all gone.
Exactly. So when I got out of that marriage, I had never been to like a party or events or anything like that. I was very, very strict. Nothing. Okay. I'm talking about to the point where even the cereal boxes, he would cross out the faces in the cereal boxes. Okay.
What?
Like,
wait, what's going on there?
I mean, seriously, like one time I went to school and he showed up to my college that I went to. I felt like I had to sneak to go to school. He was naked underneath and he had a trench coat on, like literally just a trench coat. My professor is looking at him like, what? Like, he said, I think this man is here for you. And he was so upset that I wore cool, like, the eyeliner. I wore eyeliner and liquid eyeliner to school. And I didn't wear like my face covering. I had my face out. So he's like, you're wearing makeup and you're around men and da-da-da-da-da-da. That story is crazy. The professor was so hurt. He was just like, you don't deserve that. You deserve a man who loves you. And at this time, I'm like, what is that? Does that even exist? Is that on Amazon? Because what are you talking about? So yeah, you're the reason I even reached out. You're the reason I reached out to you. Your content is the reason. Yeah, I even reached out to you because I was like, wow, this is really starting to get scary because the points that you were hitting was like, does she live here? Does she live in the house? Like, what the hell?
Was that fly on your wall?
Seriously, because it was it's like you somehow hacked my phone and was able to read verbatim certain text messages or you were in my house. It was scary. I was like, okay, let me call because what the hell is this?
That's hilarious.
I definitely, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of how far you've come, even if you don't feel like, oh man, I've gone back and no, this is a part of your journey and process. And what you're going through is also helping other people. Right. So don't stop, but also incorporate it. what you do for you. That's how I started to get out of my element of him and him being on my mind. And had I known that this was something that, you know, still triggers you, or you have your moments, like the same way you know, you're there for me, I want you to know that I'm literally here for you. That's not fake at all. I'm not that person. I'm a genuine supporter. So like, I don't care if it's 3:00 in the morning and you feel like he's calling me, you know, you know, just call me and I'll stay on the phone with you or FaceTime, and I'll take my eyes to sleep on FaceTime with you. And I don't care, because that's the person. I didn't know that you didn't have anybody. You know what I mean? And if I need to be that person in your life, that's who I am. I already told you you're my sister. I'm half Chinese. I told you.
Oh my God, you're so cute. I want to hug you right now.
I'm here for you. I told you.
You're so cute. Thank you so much.
No problem. No problem. Okay, I love you.
Love you too. Okay, thank you.